going to factor quadratic trinomials in the form of ax squared plus bx plus c. So we are going to put a number in front of the x squared other than 1 and learn to factor them. Okay. There's many different ways to do this. All right, I've done it probably 5 or 6 different ways in the last 10 years. Different ways that I've seen it being done that I like, and I've used them and I've taught them. Today we're going to look at 2 different ways to do them, not counting the fact that you could just guess. All right, and we'll actually talk about that, how you can do it to just guess. And some of you will get to the point where most of these you'll be able to do them in your head. All right? And if you can get to that point where you can figure them out in your head, then that's a bonus. Right? A lot of you are not ever going to be able to do them in your head, and that's okay. Right? There are other methods to be able to do that you can use to solve them. All right, so we're going to take these complicated ones like you did in the warm-up, and we're going to factor them now into 2 binomials. So we're going to start with 6x squared plus 11x plus 4. And we're going to just use the guess and check method first of all. So when we talk about the guess and check method, all right, what we need to do is we need the factors of, so we want to have 2 binomials here multiplied together that are going to, when I multiply them, I'm going to get 6x squared plus 11x plus 4. All right. So to do this, I need to know the factors of 6 and the factors of 4 to be able to get this. All right. So the factors of 6. All right. Because the factors of 6 are going to go in the first spot in each parenthesis, and the factors of 4 will go in the second spot in each parenthesis, and we need to be able to find a combination of them that will give us this whole thing, all right? That will give us basically the middle term 11x. All right, that's the key to it. All right. So the factors of 6, we've got 1 and 6 and 2 and 3, right? Okay. And since in this case we're working with all positives, makes it a little bit easier because we know that the middle term, or that our signs in both parentheses are going to be positive. Okay. All right, and our factors of 4 are 1 and 4 and 2 and 2. So what we're going to do is write every possible combination of these until we find the one that actually, when we do the multiplication, it works. Okay. All right, so we'll start out with 1x plus 1 and 6x plus 4. All right, so 1x plus 1, 6x plus 4. Okay. Right. Now I could change that around also. It could be 1x plus 4 and 6x plus 1. All right, so there's 2 different ways I can write that combination. All right. So I'm going to check that. So I'm just going to write all of them down first of all, and then we'll go back and check to see which ones are correct. All right. So now I'm going to use the 1 and the 6 with the 2 and the 2. And I'm going to run out of room because I'm writing too big. So all I did is list the factors of 6, factors of 4, and then I'm going to put every possible combination I can come up with in the parentheses here, and then I'm going to multiply them together to see which one gives me the correct answer. So I've used 1 and 6 with 1 and 4 and 2 and 2. Now I need to use 2 and 3 with 1 and 4 and 2 and 2. So we've got x, 2 2x plus 1, 3x plus 4, and then I need to write that the other way. 2x plus 4 and 3x plus 2 plus 1. All right, so I did 2 and 3 with 1 and 4, both ways I could do it. The 2 with the 1 and the 2 with the 4, and then I'll do my last combination. 2x plus 2 and 3x plus 2. All right, so those are all the different possibilities I could get when I factor 6x squared plus and 4, with 6 being my leading coefficient and 4 being my constant. Okay? Those are all the combinations. One of those combinations then is going to produce a middle term of 11x. Okay? Because whenever I multiply the first two together, I'm always going to get 6. Whenever I multiply the last two together, I'm always going to get 4. The question is, which combination is going to give me the positive 11x? So to do that, I'm only going to do partial multiplication. I'm not going to multiply the whole thing out. I'm just going to multiply part of it. So I'm only going to do the middle term. Look for this term here. And to find that, I have to multiply the outside ones together and the inside ones together. Right? So we get 6x squared plus 4x plus 6x plus 4. Okay? These two numbers, these are always going to be the same. All right, because I have it set up that way. All right, because that's what I focused on to start with. 6 and the 4. All right, and when we get done with this, you're going to be like, okay, that's a lot of work. All right, and some of you may end up wanting to do this when we're done. So we're going to check every combination here. All right, so 6x squared plus, this time I get 1x plus 24x. Plus 4. All right, so we're doing every single one. We're multiplying it out. The first term is always going to be 6x squared. Last term is always going to be 4. It's the 2 in the middle that I'm concerned about. Okay. So when we multiply the outside ones together, we get 2x. Multiply the inside ones together, we get 12x. Right? And we're doing this until we see that the middle two, when I add them together, I get 11x. Right? And so far I have 10x, 25x, and now 14x. All right? So none of them are 11, so I'm not there yet. So I got to try the next one. 6x squared. 2 times 4 is 8x. And 1 times 3 is 3x, and plus 4. Right? So, what's 8x plus 3x? 11x. Okay? So this is my winner. Okay? There's my answer. 2x plus 1 and 3x plus 4. Okay? There's the guess and check method for doing it. Right? So guess all the possibilities and then check them until you find the right one. Kind of a little bit like what you guys were doing, some of you are doing right now. We're doing the, if we just have 1x squared when you factor it. Okay, it's very similar to that. Find the factors of C that add up to B. Okay? Same type of thing. Right? It's just now we're adding that A in there also. Okay? So here is, this is one way to do this, all right? Guess and check, right? Probably none of you will do it. Some of you might, okay? There might be a couple of you like, you know what, I think I can do that because you'll work it out so that you are able to do it mostly in your head, All right? I can do these in my head. Once in a while I have to do one without, but that's just because it's me. All right? Okay, so let's look at one of the methods that I'm going to show you today is what's called the factoring with the Xbox way, or factor the Xbox way. Okay, and so this is, I gave you a handout with this on it, all right, to help you. Now, this works all the time except if you have a greatest common factor that you haven't taken out. Okay? So the one thing about factoring, and we haven't gotten there, and we're not going to do it in this chapter, but we will in chapter 9 when we get to there, is that you always have to be careful to see if there's a greatest common factor that you can take out first. Okay? And if there's a greatest common factor and you haven't factored it out, this way won't work. Okay? But if you've done it correctly, taken out the greatest common factor, then it works all the time. Okay? And the method I'm going to show you will work. The other method I'm going to show you will work even if you do have a greatest common factor. It's just that it won't be a complete factorization then. Okay? All right, so here's what we do. Okay? So it says y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. So we have an x here. The first thing we're always going to do is we're going to make an x. In the top of that x, all right, we're going to put the product of a and c. So we're going to multiply a times c, the coefficient of x squared and the constant. All right, that's going to go in the top. In the bottom is going to be the value of b, our middle term, that constant. Okay, whatever the coefficient is of x. Then what we're going to do is basically what we've already done is we're going to find what's going to go on the sides then is going to be the factors of a times c that add up to b. So we're still going to be doing what are the factors of this number that add up to this number. That doesn't go away when you're factoring trinomials. All right, so let's work with this one as we're doing it then, as we're using this. So I'm going to bring it up here and cover some stuff up. All right, so first thing you do, we make an x. All right, so we're going to do the one we just did, 6x squared plus 11x plus 4. All right, so in the top of this is a times c. 6 times 4. And 6 times 4 is 24. So 24 goes here. All right. B is 11. So 11 goes down here, the bottom of the x. Okay. Now, so what we want to know is what are the factors of 24 that add up to 11? All right, so let's do 24. 1 and 24, 2 and 12, 3 and 8, 4 and 6, okay? Those are the factors of 24. So which pair adds up to 11? Okay, 8 and 3. So I'm going to put 8 and 3 here in the middle, and the sides. All right. Now we're going to draw a box. That has 4 sections to it. In the upper left-hand corner, we're putting the first term from this trinomial. Okay, the first term is 6x squared. So we put 6x squared in the upper left of the box. The bottom right of the box is going to be the last term. Okay, so in this case, that is positive 4. All right. The first term goes in the upper left, last term goes in the bottom right. Now, the other two boxes then, we're going to use the 8 and the 3 are going to be the coefficients of x. So this is 8x and 3x. And it does not matter which one goes where. Okay? Now, here's what happens. Okay? If you notice, okay, look at these. 6x squared plus 3x plus 8x plus 4. Okay? Now, that is our winning, when we had our winning combination here, right? Those are the 4 terms I have, aren't they? Okay? So those are actually going to be the 4 terms of if I FOILed. So what we're going to do now is basically we're going to factor by grouping now. Okay? That's basically what we're going to do. But we're just going to find the GCF for each row and column. All right, the GCF for each row and each column. So, 6x squared and 3x, what do they have in common? Okay, 3x. So I'm going to put that out front. Eight x and 4, what do they have in common? Okay, 4. So I put that out front of that row. Okay, so I did the GCF for the rows. Now I need to do the columns. So 6x squared and 8x, what do they have in common? 2x. Okay? And 3x and 4, what do they have in common? Okay, 1. So there's my answer right there. Oops. 3x plus 4 times 2x plus 1. All right. 3x plus 4 is one of my factors. 2x plus 1 is the other factor. Okay. You could actually use this method for factoring by grouping. All right. Okay. All right. The X box method. Let's do another one. (2x squared plus 17x plus 21). We're actually going to do a whole bunch of them. All right, so you're going to have lots of practice today. But first we're working with positive C, positive B. All right, so draw your X. A times C goes in the top. 2 times 21. So 42 goes here. B goes in the bottom. That's 17. So we want to know the factors of 42 that add up to 17. All right. So let's use our calculator for a minute. Y equals 42 divided by X. Okay. Go to our table. All right. So we look at the factors of 42. Which pair add up to 17? Okay. We have 1 and 42, that's 43, nope. 2 and 21, that's 23. 3 and 14 is 17. All right, so my numbers are going to be 3 and 14. Doesn't matter which one goes where. Okay, so we make our box. (2x squared is the first term, goes in the upper right. 21 is the last term, goes in the bottom upper left for 2x squared, bottom right for 21. And then we're going to put 3 and 14 in the other two spots. Does not matter which one goes where, with an X. Now we find the greatest common factor of each row and each column. All right? 2x squared and 14x, what do they have in common? Okay, they both have a 2x. Right. 3x and 21. 3. Okay, vertically, 2x squared and 3x. Just x. And 14x and 21, 7. So this equals 2x plus 3 times x plus 7. Okay. I've actually seen some people do this, use this method with the other type too, with the coefficient of x squared just being 1. All right? So you go ahead and do letter C here, and then I'm going to show you this other method I have. Okay? So you do letter C, 3x squared minus 16x plus 16. Okay? The difference is, with the middle term being negative, that means they're both going to end up being negative. Okay? There's going to be a minus sign between them. All right? In this case. All right, so the X box is one method, and it's a good method because it works. All right, I'm going to show you another one, and if you don't like the other method, don't use it. Okay, if you're just comfortable with that, if like, okay, I got this, I can do this, all right, then that's fine. Okay? So the other method, so I'm going to use this problem here. So we already know the answer for it. So we're going to use this one. And so my other method is, and I wrote down the instructions over here. All right. All right. So, come on. All right, so here's an alternative method. It says, first of all, multiply A and C together, and that gives us a new C. All right. So, you found out that 4 times 4 was what? 16, okay? So 4 times negative 4 is negative 16, all right? So, when I multiply A times C together, then I'm going to end up with x squared minus 15x minus 16. All right, so I get a new C, all right? And A becomes 1. All right? Now, we're going to factor this, but we're going to put AX in both the spots. All right? So I'm going to write it in factored form. All right? And I'm going to put 4X in both places. All right? Because my value of A is 4. All right? And some of you are going to like this. Some of you are like, oh my gosh, no. Okay? And that's fine. Now, what are the factors of negative 16 that add up to negative 15? You found that, didn't you? All right, what were they? Okay, negative 16 and positive 1, right? Okay, so negative 16, positive 1. All right, now, divide any factor by the greatest common factor. All right, so this has a greatest common factor of 4. So I'm going to divide these both by 4. And I get x minus 4 times 4x plus 1. And there's the answer. Now, I attended a class at one point in time with a college professor, and I showed her a method similar to this, which is basically the same thing. She didn't like it because you're doing something mathematically that doesn't necessarily, it makes sense to us, but it's not something you could prove, okay? Where the X box is something we can prove, but this always works, all right? So let's take another one. We'll do another one this way. All right, we'll take one from our back here then, okay? All right, do you want to write those things down? Somebody writing them down? Okay, all right. All right, let me give you a moment to write. All right, so when A is negative, if A is negative, the first thing you have to do is factor out the negative. Okay? A is negative, first step, factor out the negative. Right? When A is negative, the first step is factor out the negative. So negative, parenthesis, and all I'm doing then is changing the signs. All right, I put a negative sign in front of the parenthesis, and all the signs change then inside it. Okay. Now I factor what's inside the parentheses. Right? So I'm going to use this method I just used. Okay. So 3 times 16 is 48. So we get x squared minus 16x plus 48. All right, and we just have to remember to put our negative down when we're all done. Okay, so now I'm going to factor that. So we have 3x here and 3x here, right? So we're putting our ax in the first two spots. All right, so what are the factors of 48 to add up to 16? 12 and 4. And since this is negative 16, it's going to be negative 12 and negative 4. All right, now, do we have a greatest common factor anywhere? Okay, here we do, right? These both have a 3 in common. So I divide by 3. So I got to remember my negative. So we have x minus 4 and 3x minus 4. And there's our answer. Okay? So I can see a bunch of your eyes like, ooh, that's a lot faster and seems to be easier. We're doing the same things, okay, pretty much. It's just we're not drawing out as much stuff, okay? So whichever method you want to use it, okay? Now, once again, when you're factoring where A is negative, the first thing you got to do is factor out that negative, and then which method you use from there is completely up to you. If you want to use the Xbox method, use that. If you want to use this other method to do it, use that. It doesn't matter to me, okay? And I'm not going to require you to do it one way once and the other way another time, okay? You just use the method that you like, all right?